Welcome to the Man Cave Podcast with Dan Casper.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to this episode of the Man Cave Podcast, brought to you by our good friends from Hy-Vee and Toyson Ford. Dan Casper here with you, and don't forget to check out the Swag Cave by our swag providers, Resonance Branding Company. You can get that link in the podcast description. This episode of the podcast, we're going to talk some Brewers, straight up Brewers, because you know what? First quarter of the Milwaukee Brewers season is already in the books. Can you believe that? Yeah, one quarter all the way through. Or one quarter already finished, I should say, for this team. So let's just jump right into it. Brewers taking 3 out of 4 against the St. Louis Cardinals. Lone loss coming the lone loss coming yesterday on Mother's Day. But with the Brewers taking 3 out of 4, they still remain in first place over the Cubs by a half game in the division. Cubs taking it to the Pirates over this weekend here too, so tight race between these two teams. Cubs will begin a series against the Braves, while the Brewers will try to do what the Cubs did to the Pirates and win that series too. So I want to talk about first quarter grades, though, when we look at this Brewers team. I want to talk about first quarter grades here in a second, but a quick recap of what transpired over the weekend for the Brewers. Let's go back to Friday night, because I think that was a big time game here. Now, not to put a lot of stock into just one game. One game is not going to tell us, the future of somebody's career or anything like that. But you can't ask for, it's tough. You probably could get a little bit better. But, for a guy's debut as a starting pitcher, you can't ask for much more than a better start than what Robert Gasser did Friday night against the Cardinals. Picking up his first career win, going 6 innings, just giving up 2 hits, no earned runs, no walks, 4 strikeouts. Just a fantastic performance. And then his offense, the rest of his team, coming out and giving him some run support. Although in the first few innings it looked like both teams kind of struggling, maybe to put the barrel on the bat, manufacture some runs. Brewers kind of opened that up in the fourth with 2 runs going up against Lance Lynn. Then they really opened up the floodgates in the fifth, putting up 5 and really sealed the deal with 4 runs in the bottom of the 7th. But you want to talk about, shout-outs from the weekend, or a little weekend hangover, the highs with the lows, studs and duds. Robert Gasser's on that list. Just imagine yourself as a youngster making their major league debut in your home stadium, going up against a division rival. You go out there and you throw 6 innings of 2-hit ball, no earned runs, no walks, 4 Ks. That sweeper of his looked lethal, looked pretty deadly over there. I got to imagine, especially on a Friday night, the stadium's packed. The nerves, the butterflies, they got to be rolling. That's what sports is about, baby. It's performances like that. So shout out to Robert Gasser. He was absolutely fantastic. Awesome. And you hope that this is going to be a sign of things to come for his hopefully long career. But man, that was fantastic. So Brewers then following it up with another win on Saturday. They picked up that win 5-3 against the Cardinals. And then they had a chance to go for the sweep on Mother's Day, which the Brewers have been the best team overall record-wise on Mother's Day games. And the Brewers have had this history of performing incredibly well on Mother's Day. I mean, we can all kind of go back to a couple games, right? Bill Hall, Freddie Peralta's debut was on Mother's Day in Colorado when he struck out for 10. You want to talk about good debuts from a starting pitcher? Freddie Peralta is up there too. But, quickly going back to Saturday's performance, 5-3 victory for the Crew. The Cardinals were able to put up 12 hits in that game. Freddie Peralta was on the mound. He picked up a no decision, but he went six innings, 8 hits, 3 earned runs, did have 8 strikeouts. But the Brewers battled back in the 7th, putting up 3 runs thanks to Rhys Hoskins, who's been displaying some power there with the go-ahead. So the Brewers securing a series win on Saturday and then falling just a bit short yesterday in a 4-3 game against the Cardinals. Even though the Brewers jumped out to a 3-0 lead in the first, after the first, not able to produce anything after that. Literally nothing. And the Cardinals just packed away. Wilson going 4 innings, 5 hits, 2 earned runs, 5 walks, though. That was kind of a killer there. But nonetheless, Brewers overall taking 3 out of 4 against the Cardinals. I think a lot of us would take that any day of the week, regardless of how much the Cardinals may be struggling at this point in time. So, with that, we're about one quarter, the first quarter of the Brewer season in the books. Okay, we're at that line. It's like right a little bit before, but after tonight's game, it'll be a little over 25% of the way through the season. So, who's on the A honor roll? Who's getting, that perfect GPA or whatever? I mean, we can come up with any other school reference we want to here, but who's getting high marks? Who's getting high grades here? And then what kind of grade would you give the team overall? And is anybody willing to go lower than a B overall as a team? And if you are, tell me why you're grading them pretty hard. Tell me why you're grading them pretty hard. So before I get to a team grade, I want to highlight some individual players, if you will, my honor roll for this team so far this year. I think you have to start with Contreras. To me, William Contreras right now is the team MVP. He should be mentioned as a league MVP. If they did like first quarter of the season MVPs, he should easily be on that short list, that watch list right now. What he has done, obviously, you look at the offensive numbers. He's hitting .346, 37 runs scored, 30 RBIs. All those numbers lead the team. And, I'm sorry, the guy plays every day. Every single day, and he's a catcher. You don't see that type of mindset that much anymore in sports. Like, we talk about load management. We talk about days off and veteran rest days. And you got this guy, and I know he's younger, but you got this guy who his goal is to play every single day. Every single day. That mindset, I feel like it's kind of getting rare in any sport at the pro level. Oh, and I'm sorry, he's on a on-base streak right now. He's extended that to 20 games. Contreras is an A+. I didn't even get to what he's meant to this team behind the dish. Going through so many different pitchers, starters, relievers turning into starters, bullpen arms. No Devin Williams, no Brandon Woodruff. Wade Miley was very short. A lot of young guys. But the job that Contreras has done calling games behind the home plate too and managing this pitching staff as a youngster, I know we focus a lot on the offensive numbers that he has displayed and has shown out there, but what he has done behind the dish too cannot be overlooked. Contreras is easily A+. First quarter of this Brewer season. This man has just been fantastic the clear-cut MVP of this team, in my opinion. Clear-cut MVP. And that trade that Matt Arnold did last year to bring him in, just it continues to look better and better and better almost every single game that guy goes out there and plays. Some other A's that I'm gonna give Christian Yelich an A. I know he missed some time. He missed some time, almost a month or so. He's played in 15 games. That's not a big sample size. I understand that compared to like Willy Adames and Contreras have played in 40. But I'm still going to give Yelich an A. You're looking at this series, these last 3 games against the Cardinals, 9th, 10th, 12th, multiple hits. So far this year, 364. His OPS is a 1.126, 5 home runs. And the start that he was on, he was on a fantastic start, showing the power. So I know the sample size isn't as much as a Contreras or some of those other guys, but Yelich, I'm going to give him an A. I'm going to go out there and give him an A. Another guy I'm going to give an A, I'm going to give Bryce Terang an A. What he has meant for the top of the order now, as of late, but just getting on base and stealing those bases, he has kind of, he has been the forefront of what a lot of Brewers fans have wanted to see this team do for a long time, and that's be uber aggressive on the base pass. He's got 16 stolen bases so far this year, but you know what? You can't steal bases unless you get on base, and Bryce Terang has made a monstrous jump compared to what he was doing last year when he was, rookie last year. We knew the defense. By the way, that sweep play was that Friday when he caught that liner, jumped up, showed off his skills, and then was able to turn like midair and throw the guy out at first. Was that Friday night? I think that was Friday night. But we knew Bryce Terang's defense. We knew he had the skills there. Offensively, he really struggled last year. At least in the first quarter of this season, he has turned that around, and you hope that's something that can continue. But right now, a 301 average with a 786 OPS. He's getting on base, and he's stealing bases. 16 stolen bases so far from him. So I got to give Bryce Terang an A too, especially when you kind of consider his offensive numbers from last year. And if he's going to be now a staple at the top of the order, and you got Contreras hitting behind him, and if Bryce Terang can continue to get on base, even if it's just a single, it's going to turn into a double. A lot of times it's going to turn into a double because he's going to steal it. And then automatically you got a guy in scoring position with Contreras who can hit all over the field, and he is just hitting lights out this year. Heck yeah. So I think I'm going to go those guys with a. You know what? I'm also going to throw Brian Hudson into this too. Kind of a bit of an unknown coming in to the season. Relief pitcher. He's 2-0. He's appeared in 15 games. But he's 2-0 with a .81 ERA. I'll throw an A- on there for Mr. Hudson too. And oddly enough, Hudson's one of his favorite Brewers pitchers now too because of the last name. But for a season of pitchers and call-ups and injuries and trying to fill in spots and eat some innings and that guy's been pretty a nice, pleasant surprise coming out of the pen this year. How about a B on a roll? Who are some guys that I'm willing to give some B grades to? Let's go back to the offensive side of things. All right, so I'll go Willy Adames on this for my B. I think this is the version of Willie that we wanted to see last year. He's hitting 258. I'm sure some people would like to see that above 270, 280. His OPS is 799. But he's displaying a little bit more power than what we saw last year at this time. He's got 7 home runs. He's He's got 27 RBIs so far. 4-5 hitter. I'm probably going Willie Adames B. And with that, too, I'm probably going Rhys Hoskins with a B. I didn't expect Rhys Hoskins to have a big-time average, batting over 300. I just wanted to see Rhys Hoskins coming in and providing, that power in the middle of the lineup, and he's done exactly that. He's done exactly that. We can't ask for a whole lot more. Yes, you can probably ask for a little bit of a better batting average and, consistently getting on and such, but we wanted some power. And right now, he's leading the team in home runs with 9. Got to give him that. His OPS is an 805. He's slugging 470 right now. So I'm giving Rhys Hoskins a B over there. I think you have to. Some others that I'm probably giving a B to. I'll go Freddie. I know Freddie's maybe as of late kind of, I don't want to say falling off, but he started off the season really well. He's 3-1 right now with a 3.63 ERA. I'll go Freddie. I'm going to go Colin Ray on there too. I think you got to give Colin Ray a ton of credit for this year. Again, he was a guy last year. We didn't know who the heck he was, for crying out loud. He gets put in the starting rotation because of injuries, and he had an average year. But so far this year, I think he's come out, and he's pitched a ton of good innings for this team. He's 3-0, 3.29 ERA. I think you got to give that guy a lot of credit. He's been having a fantastic year. Considering we didn't know who the heck he was, last year when he got called up. I would love to give guys like Robert Gasser A's and all that, but, just one game into it, we'll see how it goes. Maybe second quarter grades for better suited for him. Pat Murphy, I think, A-, B+. Yes, there's probably decisions that we look at and be in question, hindsight 2020. A lot of them mostly being pitching situations, going to the bullpen and bringing in somebody that probably should have brought in somebody else. Hindsight's always 2020, we get it. But for the most part, Pat Murphy, a veteran manager who's been around baseball for a long time, and he's handed a team that's got a bunch of youngsters on there mixed in with some veterans. I think he's done a fantastic job. And I love the fact that he's being aggressive on the base pass. And I think you got to give him a ton of credit. A, yes. A-, B+, somewhere around there. Team-wise overall, I'm going A. Maybe I'm being a little too nice with my first quarter grades, but considering when we opened up this season for the Brewers and didn't really know what to expect, you had Jackson Chourio coming in. Right, you had these youngsters. You had second-year guys like Bryce Terang. Okay, we didn't know if he was going to make this offensive jump. I think he has blown that out of the water so far. Sal Frelick coming in. We saw him last year, getting a lot of playing time this year. Garrett Mitchell's been hurt. Joey Wiemer's now hurt. But a lot of unknowns surrounding the pitching staff too, right? Was Freddie going to be an ace? Was he going to display that he can be an ace, the number one starter of this rotation? Some youngsters mixed into it. No Devin Williams. How is the bullpen going to look? I think the Brewers have surprised quite a few people right now with how they're playing. They're a scrappy bunch. They're a fun bunch. Watching this team, they're a lot of fun. Is there down moments? Of course there are. No doubt about it. And that's going to happen at different points in a 162-game season. But right now, I got to give this team an A-. A-. They've surpassed some of my expectations for this year. At the beginning of the year, I didn't have them making the postseason, and I get it. We got 3 more quarters of the season to go. A lot of stuff can still be, still can happen. But they've kind of surpassed my expectations so far here. And I love the mentality, and I love the personality of this group. It's a scrappy bunch that takes on the personality of their manager. I love that they're being aggressive on the base pass, and guys are stepping up. This pitching department is stepping up. Chris Hook deserves an A for crying out loud. Their pitching coach. for the different names and different players he's had to work with and get ready. So yeah, overall, I'm giving him an A-. Absolutely. What, they lead the, and I know you can find stats that fit narratives in any sport. But like, what was it, Friday, where they said the Brewers are, at that point, were they tied with the Dodgers, or did they have one, but now they had like a 2-game lead over? Team with the most 7-run games. Again, you can find a narrative, you can find a stat that fits a narrative for everything in sports. But it's a team that scores and runs. A team that, last couple of years, last few years, what was our biggest issue with them? Scoring. Hitting and scoring. They're kind of doing that this year. So I got to give the Brewers my first quarter grades. I'm going to give them an A-. A-. I think overall there's more to be happy about with this team than there is to kind of complain. For Jackson Chourio, what would you give him for a first quarter grade? When you look at his numbers, he's played 36 games, 4 home runs, 214 average, 262 on base, and a 595 OPS. He started off the season, I think, incredibly well. But when you look at his last 30 games, he's hit 196, 250 on base, and a 304 slugging. Right now, in the last 14 at-bats, it's just a 143 slugging, and he's hitting 143. And besides Mother's Day, he hasn't been in the starting lineup for a few games. And Pat Murphy kind of, and this is the thing too, he's out there saying it. It's not just behind closers, but he threw out the comment, got to hold guys accountable. And it sounds like it was just, youngster. He's got to, learn to prepare and get ready, pregame get ready like a professional now. And he's been apparently hanging out with, Willie Adames and Contreras and trying to, model what they do before games, how they get ready for games. And those are guys that spend a lot of time at BP in the cage before the game. And it sounds like now Cheerio's kind of shadowing them, if you will. And that's what Pat Murphy's referring to. Yes, he's young, and he's, you're taking your highs and your lows with this youngster. He's learning to kind of be a pro on the fly. So, my grade for him, I'm probably going C-, but for definitely room for improvement. And that's where maybe a guy like Pat Murphy managing a youngster like him. Maybe if you had a younger manager who, and I'm just spitballing here, maybe if you had a younger manager that didn't have, any managerial experience or an up-and-comer, maybe they're not as tough on a highly touted prospect who'd got a huge contract because, they don't want to upset the franchise or anything like that. Pat Murphy, he's old school. He's going to do what's best for the team. And in his mind, too, what's best for the player. Maybe Jackson Chourio playing under a guy like Pat Murphy who's not afraid. He doesn't care about the contract, doesn't care about the trajectory or what, the Brewers have envisioned for him. Let's put the best team out there and wants to do what's best for the kid, too. And if that's got to be a little tough love, that's got to be a little tough love. All right, that is going to do it for us on this episode of the Man Cave Podcast. Again, brought to you by Hy-Vee and Toyson Ford. And don't forget to check out the Swag Cave. That link in the podcast description. Appreciate it, as always, for tuning in to the Man Cave Podcast. And, hey, we got the mobile Man Cave that's set to make its debut here in a couple weeks. We're looking for places to do the radio show and to do some podcast episodes, all right, with the mobile Man Cave. So hit us up with some suggestions, all right? I want to hear from you. And don't forget to give us a 5-star rating and a positive review to wherever you listen to your podcast. That way others can find the podcast. Until next time, I'm Dan Casper, and I will talk to you on the next episode of the Man Cave Podcast.